What will the Kagurabachi anime look like? Everyone wants to know when they'll release the anime, but the real question is how they're going to animate it, because everyone is saying that it's the next Jujutsu Kaisen and so they wanted Mappa to make it. A lot of people also wanted Ufotable to make it the next Demon Slayer, but if the rumors are true, then it's actually going to Cygames Pictures. You know, the guys behind all your favorites like Princess Connect Redive, and Manaria Friends. Naturally, you're probably wondering who the heck Cygames is and what they're capable of. Which is why, in this video, I'm going to talk about the potential for a Kagurabachi anime, when we can expect it, and why we could be looking at the beginning of anime's next big studio. So first off, let's talk about when we can expect Kagurabachi, because the manga is doing really well right now. As a matter of fact, it's already got well over 1 million copies in circulation after just 5 volumes, which puts it in just about the same tier as a series like My Hero Academia. So obviously, it's less of a question of if it'll get an anime, and more when we'll get it. Now, typically, they tend to announce anime adaptations after the manga has about 100 chapters. Sometimes it's like Yozakura Family and they wait till like 200 chapters. But like we said, Kagurabachi is more in line with something like My Hero. Now, My Hero Academia was actually announced right around the time of chapter 64, which is actually really early for a series and just goes to show how excited people were for the anime. That being said, at the time I'm recording, Kagurabachi is already 65 chapters in, and we still haven't received an official announcement. So here's what I'm expecting to happen. I think we can expect an anime announcement for Kagurabachi as early as chapter 80, but no later than chapter 90. That would give us a window starting in late spring and somewhere this summer. In other words, I think we can expect an official announcement early this summer, and if that's when they announce the anime, then based on how this usually goes down, I think we can expect a release date a year and a half later, meaning we can probably expect the Kagurabachi anime to start in the winter season of 2027. Aside from that, it's a bit early to guess how many arcs they would adapt. It's usually somewhere between like 60 to 80-ish chapters, but considering we're right in the middle of an arc right now, I'd like to see how it plays out before I start guessing. That being said, I think 2 full cores is a pretty safe bet, with whichever studio is in charge splitting up the 2 cores as is apparently the industry standard now. Speaking of studios, let's talk about the one that will probably be making Kagurabachi. Actually, just real quick before I say that, make sure to become a channel member if you're enjoying this video. You'll get exclusive perks like custom emojis and badges, and you'll get to pick which series I cover next. Anyway, like I said before, everyone wants Mappa or Ufotable or whoever to animate Kagurabachi. And a few months ago, I would have thought either of those studios was a solid guarantee. But that was before this article came out from Anime News Network back in December. In a report from Toyo Keizai Online, Anime News Network says Kagurabachi, quote, "will get an anime adaptation at Cygames Pictures through a joint production by Cyber Agent and Shochiku." Now right away you're probably wondering who the hell Cygames is. Well, Cygames is just the anime department for Cyber Agent, the company that's made games like Princess Connect and more notably Grand Blue Fantasy. Up until now, Cygames has mostly made just anime for their own video games. So if this announcement is true, Kagurabachi would be the studio's first mainstream project. Now, in addition, you also have Shochiku joining in as producers. If you've never heard of them, they've produced a bunch of movies like Violet Evergarden, A Silent Voice, Noragami, the Black Clover movie, and they even produced the Fatal Fury movie. So while this may be a relatively new venture for Cygames Pictures, they do have the funding and support of a company that's been around for quite a while. And in any other situation, I think everyone would be on board with this. Except if you don't like Terry Bogard, I guess. But unfortunately, while some people might see this new studio and get excited, many more people will probably say the anime is doomed because it's not MAPPA or Ufotable. And I can kinda see where people are coming from. Kagurabachi is a great series, and a lot of people are invested in the future of this series. So it makes sense that they would rather see it go to a studio they're familiar with. I mean, why ruin a great thing, right? If we want it to be the next Jujutsu Kaisen, then it only makes sense that MAPPA should be in charge. And if we want the anime to have all these same crazy sword fights as Demon Slayer, then of course they should put Ufotable in charge. And when you hear the Cygames announcement, you might say, oh, well, it's not an official announcement, and they could still give it to someone else. And while that is true, I think the fact that we already have a name from credible sources tells us that Cygames is most likely going to be the studio. Now, the reason why I think every Kagurabachi fan should be excited for this is mainly because this means Kagurabachi will be something completely new. It won't be just another Jujutsu Kaisen or just another Demon Slayer. From what I've heard, Cygames actually has some pretty good-looking anime given their relatively small portfolio. Given the right director and animation team, this could be the perfect opportunity for Cygames to make a name for themselves. Alternatively, I'm actually kind of relieved that this isn't going to MAPPA or Ufotable. In the case of Ufotable, all they've really done for the last 5 years or so is Demon Slayer. Plus, they had the whole thing where they sort of maybe lied about their taxes back in 2021, which they still seem to be doing fine. But I'm not so sure I want them handling Kagurabachi. In the case of MAPPA, nothing with them is a guarantee. It was a while ago, but the way they handled Attack on Titan was a complete mess. Since then, their big projects have been pretty consistent. Jujutsu Kaisen always looks great. Hell's Paradise was alright. Chainsaw Man looked great, but they did have to basically fund that one on their own. So in terms of MAPPA, they could do a good job, but I feel like they would be spreading themselves too thin. On the other hand, while Cygames is a newer studio, they have the support of Shochiku. And considering how much I loved the Black Clover movie, even though it would be a totally different studio, I would actually be really excited to see them work with Cygames on a new project. Plus, think about all of the great anime that came out recently. A lot of people wanted MAPPA to animate Dandadan, but it went to Science Saru and it looks amazing. A lot of people wanted MAPPA to animate Sakamoto Days. It went to TMS of all people, the same company behind Dr. Stone. But the animation has been pretty great so far. Plus, think about how MAPPA got to where they are now. When they were announced as the studio making Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1, a lot of people didn't even know who they were. Prior to Jujutsu Kaisen, they had worked on Dororo, which looks pretty good. They worked on Banana Fish. They worked on God of High School, which people didn't really love the animation. And they worked on Doro Hey Doro, which also isn't exactly praised for its animation. So MAPPA wasn't really the blockbuster studio that people view them as before Jujutsu Kaisen. So I think the opportunity for something similar to happen to Cygames is actually really exciting. So on the one hand, I think it's undeniable that Kagurabachi has filled the gap left by Jujutsu Kaisen. Naturally, all of those fans would like to see MAPPA animated, but considering Cygames has already been named, odds are it's probably going to them. And I think we have every reason to be excited about that. They've only worked on smaller IPs so far, but that just means they have a lot to prove for Kagurabachi. And apparently those anime look pretty good. Plus, Cygames would have the support of a major company that has a proven track record. Finally, while it might be nice for it to go to a studio we already trust, I think going to a newer studio is a guaranteed way for Kagurabachi to stand out as much as it can. Nobody really knows Cygames Pictures, so this is an opportunity to make something unlike anything anyone has ever seen. For that reason, I am fully expecting Kagurabachi to be one of the best anime of the next generation. But now I'd like to hear what you think. What are your predictions for the Kagurabachi anime? Who do you want to animate it? Share your thoughts and see what everyone else has to say down in the comments. I'll pick my favorite and share it as comment of the week on my community tab. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to become a channel member. You get all those exclusive perks like emojis and badges, you get to pick which manga I cover, and you can even get your name in the credits of each video. Also, make sure to check out my other manga videos, which you can find in the playlist linked right here. Until then, thank you for watching, and I hope to hear from you soon.